I once read that podcasts that begin with the letter S are the podcasts of snakes.
Hey everyone, welcome to Straight Jacket Talk, where it's two guys, a girl, and a horror show. My name is Kevin. Let me introduce you to my co-hosts. First, we have a guy who loves ballet. It's Nathan.
I sure do love ballet.
Do you wish you could do some ballet?
No, I don't dance.
Yes, you do.
We're going to make you dance. We also have a girl who loves to pretend to be a witch. It's Jill.
Pretend.
Ooh.
Yes, pretend.
Legally, I have to say those things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're glad you could join us tonight for our review on Suspiria, the OG Suspiria from 1977. This was directed by Dario Argento. It was also written by Dario Argento and Daria Nicoldi?
Nailed it.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm
Are
no
you
good with
Italian?
names.
Okay.
I am part Italian.
Oh.
Dario Argento is kind of like really well known for these sort of movies. Giallo movies, is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, I believe that's correct. I've heard it pronounced a couple of different ways on YouTube at this point, so.
Well, we'll go with that one.
Yeah, we don't have to say it again, honestly.
Giallo.
Got that part out of the way.
It makes me think of
Jello?
Jello, gelato.
Gelato.
Gelato. Oh, okay.
Which is also Italian.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're on a roll.
Yeah.
This is my heritage, Jill.
Wear it proud.
Oh, man. Now, currently on Rotten Tomatoes, Suspiria from 1977 has a 94% critic score and an 83% audience score. So this is certified fresh. But what did we think of Suspiria? Now, before we get into our review, if you guys could please hit the like and subscribe button and also hit the notification bell, because when we have a new video, you'll be the first to know. Isn't that right, Nathan?
Yes, it's a privilege.
100%. 100%. Now, this was Jill's pick for an episode. So, Jill, why did you choose Suspiria for us to review?
So I've actually never seen the original Suspiria, and it's been on my list for a really long time. It's just everything about it is up my alley. And I did see the new Suspiria over a year ago by now, and I really liked it. And so I heard that the original is nothing like it. And it's just been on my list, and it's kind of a sin to have not seen it by now. So yeah, I thought it would be fun to talk about it and hear your guys' thoughts.
I gotta agree with you. This movie, Suspiria, the OG, has been talked about in horror circles and communities forever.
Forever,
you
yeah.
know?
It's been on my
it's
list for a long time, too, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's like one of those movies that it's kind of like the Beatles album, Sgt. Pepper's, where people reference it all the time, and it's almost like a part of like
Pop
the movie.
culture.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's cool to finally see it, because this is my first watch as well. How about you, Nathan? Have you seen this one before?
No, this is my first watch as well. It's been on my list forever. My sister really liked it, and I don't know, I just never got around to it. So
3 virgins to Suspiria.
no black flame candles for us.
No.
But
We popped this cherry. Now, Nathan, you actually bought the 4K.
Yeah, I did. And it's a really, really good looking 4K restoration, transfer, whatever you want to call it. It is absolutely gorgeous. If you love this movie, I highly recommend buying that 4K.
It's a must-have.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to see it look better than that anywhere else. Anywhere, honestly, anywhere near close to as good. It looks incredible.
I'm sold.
You sold Jill. Nathan, what's your first thoughts on Suspiria? Was it worth the wait?
This is a movie that has a whole hell of a lot of strange problems, like weird exposition dumps in the middle of the movie, characters who are set up to be important that don't pay off and don't go anywhere, a whole bunch of stuff that doesn't pay off. And I don't care about any of that because it is just this wonderful smorgasbord of amazing visuals and music, and it's surreal. There's a whole lot of problems that would normally ruin a movie for me that for this one simply doesn't, because I love it so much. Because I love surrealism and I love dreamlike atmosphere.
How about you, Jill? Was this worth the wait to see? Does this have problems for you?
I noticed the same problems as Nathan, but also I choose to not even acknowledge them because even some of the problems, like the dubbing, kind of added to the experience for me. So I know you guys watched the English one. I watched the Italian dub because I didn't even know there was an English dub. And I had known about the dubbing issue because Nathan texted it in the group chat prior to watching it. So I knew there was issues, but I didn't notice it until maybe like halfway through the movie. I was watching the mouths of some of the actresses when they were speaking, and I could tell it was slightly off, but it still seemed like it was Italian.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of it was like already done in English and then dubbed as English, and it was still off. But that wasn't an issue, and it kind of added to, like, I don't know, the offness of the movie. Like everything's a little bit off.
Right.
And that also just added to it for me. And as for the characters, like the blind guy, I forget his name.
Daniel, I think.
Daniel.
Is it Daniel? Okay, yeah. Even his death, I think was really cool because we got that really cool scene of him walking out in the plaza with his dog, who I really love, by the way. That dog is beautiful.
Yeah.
And
awesome
so
German
happy
Shepherd.
that dog didn't die. Yeah. What did you just say?
I said an awesome German Shepherd.
Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome German Shepherd. So
Adorable.
cute. So didn't die, was happy about that. But the scene with Daniel on the plaza when he's walking the dog, he's just surrounded by these buildings and the shadows. And one thing this movie does really well is playing with shadows. So you see like the witches like riding by on their broomsticks in the shadows, like circling him. And also I think I saw a Baphomet statue on top of one of the buildings, and then it would disappear and then they would show it again. That whole scene with like the music playing in the background, just so cool. So even like the pointless things in the movie kind of served a purpose. But yeah, I loved everything about it. How about you, Kevin?
I think you kind of touched on what's great about this movie is it makes you feel uneasy and off throughout. You know, you start right away with, you know, going through the airport, opening the doors, and whoosh, rain and wind and like chaos, you know?
And did you notice that the music actually starts and stops when the door opens and closes?
Yes. Yeah, and
that
it
was an
does that
awesome
throughout,
touch.
I noticed too.
Yeah.
They specifically choose when to take away the music and have like the elements, sounds, and things like that versus, you know, experiencing the scene through the music. And that was a great way to introduce what they're going to kind of do throughout this movie to you a little bit. The ride you're going to go on, you know what I mean? So I thought that was the biggest thing for me with this movie, is just feeling off basis and not knowing what's coming, because there is a mystery element, right? And that's kind of what the Giallo movies are based on too, right? Is that whole mystery of what's going
Yeah.
on,
Yeah.
you know? So I think for me, I really liked the huge elements of this, which were mood, atmosphere, color, which is amazing. The color of
So
this
good.
movie. You know, people will call out like, "Oh my god, that blood looks so like bright red fake."
Yeah.
But the juxtaposition of colors with that bright red blood and the wine that's bright red and things like that, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
The music too, and I know we'll touch on the music a lot.
We'll talk
but
about
the
the music,
is key in this movie, because I think if you watch, I think it's like Halloween, right? 1978 Halloween. If you watch this movie without the music, I think it loses its impact, just like Halloween without the music. It is like almost like a character in this. My only like gripes with this movie, I think, are some of the pacing issues, where like some of it was a little too drawn out for me, I think, in the middle portions. But I think that's the kind of price you pay for like building up tension and, you know, creating a stylized movie. Like you said,
Yeah.
Nathan, too, with the exposition random dumps too. Like, I don't know. But you know, can you overlook that for this sort of movie? You know, and I think maybe you can, you know?
I get what you're saying, but I'll be honest. A lot of parts where there really isn't much happening is some of my favorite stuff, just because of the way it looks and sounds. After the maggots scene, where they're all sleeping in that one room and they've got the sheets up and they turn off the lights, and then they're bathed in red behind them.
Yeah.
So nice.
Yeah. And they're just having a conversation. Not much is happening there, but I was mesmerized by it just because of the way it looked, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's why I was actually surprised to hear you say pacing, because I didn't feel like it had pacing issues.
I agree, actually. And I think that Argento is just such a master of horror. And also, I just want to touch on Susie being inspired by Disney's Snow White. I was trying to figure out, is that a Snow White DVD you have there, Nathan? What is that?
Oh, but that's Blue Velvet.
God, I'm so blind
Well,
that it looks like the curse of a okay.
it's very
I'll go
small
die.
print, but
I was
Okay,
gonna say,
yeah.
if Nathan has Snow White behind him, holy shit, that's awesome.
That's what I thought was happening, but I'm getting my eyes checked on Friday, so maybe this will never happen again.
You don't have to. Who cares?
yeah.
But I was gonna say, so Susie was inspired by Disney's Snow White, and you can see that in her appearance. Like, she's kind of pale. She's got the short, dark hair, and she's also like really innocent, which I think is also probably based off of Snow White's character. And then I'll just talk about like the primary colors that they use: red, blue, and yellow, but also some white. So that's like the Snow White colors. And they're so bright throughout. And so that, and then the part that it kind of feels like a dark fairy tale. So like from the very beginning, you're talking about Susie in the airport. So when she comes out of the airport, we see like numerous posters for the Dark Forest, which I think is really cool. And
I
it's
didn't notice
like
that.
blowing in the wind.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
To me, that added like a really nice, dark, whimsical kind of flair, especially added to the storm. And then like everything going wrong for Susie, like trying to get a cab, the cabbie being kind of rude to her. And then they're like driving by the forest and you see that forest in person.
Yeah.
And I really love that. We see her like transcending worlds. So she leaves the normal contemporary world at the airport, and then she steps into a realm of horrifying possibilities.
Right.
From that moment on, I felt like I was under a spell, just like you, Nathan, like mesmerized. I was so transfixed on the entire movie the whole time. And I think that's the magic of Suspiria. Like, yeah, it's about witchcraft, but it also leaves you in a red wine potion kind of state.
I mean, the whole story
True.
is so, it's barely a story. It's so simple. Like, you know, an American girl goes to a dance academy and bad things happen. I've spoiled the entire story for you at this point. Everything you said about it being like a dark fairy tale and about it being surreal, the story is just an excuse to put those visuals out there to me.
Yeah.
It's much more about emotion and making you feel things than it is about narrative, about like traditional movie making. It feels very David Lynch in that way. And we will
surreal.
And we will be covering some David Lynch movies at some point, trust me. But so you'll get if you haven't seen any of them, you'll get what I'm saying. But although I say that, except that Eraserhead came out the same year as this, and that was Lynch's first movie. So I don't know if maybe Lynch was, inspired by some of the Dario Argento stuff, but I wouldn't be surprised.
These are definitely inspirational movies in the fact of people taking the surrealism aspects of this movie, but also a lot of slashers of the 80s were inspired by this movie and Giallo movies in general as well.
That makes sense.
You know, a lot of the mystery elements, but also the simple storyline elements too, taking something like that. Like, we all know the story, like you said, you know the story, but it's how it is portrayed and played out. I even thought, some of the gore effects in this were pretty good.
Yeah.
Like where
especially
you see
in that first kill.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Pat Hingle.
Pat Hingle and the open heart and beating. And then even just the stabbings were like pretty brutal. Just watching that take place.
There was something so casual about the way Pat Hingle was getting stabbed at the beginning there. It was just,
it's like, here you go.
Yeah. Like,
have another. Have another.
It was unnerving because of it, though. It felt like in another movie, I might be like, well, that was kind of weak. But in this movie, it was just like,
You forget about it because what comes after that is insane.
Yeah.
Like that whole kill is insane. It progresses and then her head is like smashed into the stained glass until she falls.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful.
That too, though,
So
is
good.
a little scary when you see it from her friend's point of view, like down below.
Yeah.
And her head is just sticking from that stained glass. That's like very fucking creepy, like,
Yeah.
And then, of course, like seeing her come through
And the
like,
hanging.
the camera focused on the hanging.
Yes.
Like, woo.
It was so good. It was just so good.
Yeah.
It really gave you an idea of what you were in for a lot of the movie too. I mean, there was only like 3 deaths, but they were all terrifying. So
Yeah. That one especially though, like they just started it off with that.
Right.
And kind of
Start the movie like that, like you're like, holy shit.
American movies didn't really do a lot of gore like that back in the 70s. I was expecting something way more tame than I got just because of the era we were looking at. But I guess I should have known better because it's always the Italians. Then if there's going to be a fucked up movie, it's probably going to be the Italians or the French.
The whole thing is just so like luxely decadent. Just an excuse to put this stuff out, but they do put it out and it looks amazing. It sounds amazing.
Yep.
The set, I'm obsessed with the set. I want to live there.
At the boarding school?
Yeah.
Minus the witches, or maybe just join them. I don't know.
I'd totally join them.
You know where I wanted to live was fucking, what's her name? Olga's apartment?
Olga.
That place looked nice.
We'll
Like
go
the
with
It
wall-
did, but
Wallpaper?
the school was nice too, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, all
just
the
like the
sets
whole
were amazing.
architecture.
I knew I was in for something I was going to like when I watched a woman get onto an elevator and was amazed by a woman getting onto an elevator.
That sold you.
That shot is incredible.
Yeah.
It's a nothing shot. We're just saying that she's going up, but the soundtrack is creating this crazy cacophony, and there's the elevator is numbers are in a triangle, and everything's
love
bright
that.
pink.
Yeah.
It's just I was amazed by an elevator.
So I got to ask you, you brought up the soundtrack for this movie. It was done by the band Goblin. Is that their name?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the soundtrack and the music specifically for Suspiria? Jill, what do you think?
I really liked it. I don't think you could replace it. It's iconic. I don't care that they're kind of playing the same stuff over and over. It sounds so good. It puts you in that mood, and the sound effects in the music itself goes with the whole surrealism and kind of like a madness type of deal. But yeah, it's just so good, and they could have nothing else for this. I don't think would work as well. What about you, Nathan?
I was amazed by the soundtrack, really. I thought it was great that it felt like sometimes the characters were reacting to the soundtrack, and the soundtrack was reacting to what was going on screen, but in a different way than you would normally see in a soundtrack. Like when the old lady takes a knife and reflects into Susie's face some light, and you hear witch. It was like, it feels like Susie reacted to that, like she heard it, but
Like
she
she
can't
heard it.
because the soundtrack is not in universe. So it's like blurring the lines between what is the soundtrack and what is actually in universe in the movie. And the fact that it was chaotic so much of the time. And that melody is great. It's a real simple melody, just walking up the D minor scale. There's something about it that's genius anyway, despite it being extremely simple.
I like the idea of Susie, like listening on her like earbuds to the music while it's happening.
Right.
Like, because it does blur, like you said, the lines of reality and what she can hear versus us, you know?
Right.
Yeah, I actually thought she could hear that. Like, I thought they timed that because I thought we were supposed to think she was also a witch, and possibly she is. But that's what I thought that was getting at.
I mean, that's possible.
I
thought it
also
was
thought
blurring lines.
she reacted
but-
to that as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't know. I like the scene too. And I don't know. Here's another thing of blurring the lines between reality and movie. When her friend, which I forget, is it Sarah?
Sarah.
Falls into that razor wire, right?
Oh, yeah.
There was like that sounds of almost wire, like, but to me it sounded like it was in the music and not in like the actual sound design of the movie.
The way Italian films were done back in the 70s is they filmed it all completely silent. There is no sound that was actually on set that you hear. So maybe it was like in the music. I don't know.
Wild.
Literally everything is dubbed. And also all the actors are speaking different languages to each other. Like that one guy during that exposition scene we were talking about, that old guy is speaking German, which isn't Italian or English. So
Yeah.
and so the actors couldn't even understand each other. They were, a line would be
Just
said in
reacting.
German, and she'd just have to trust that he said the correct line and say her line back, which is an insane way to make a film. But it adds to what you're saying, where sound effects feel like they're in the music, or you're not really sure which sound effect and which thing is actually in universe in the movie. It adds to the nightmare, dream logic quality of the movie.
That's what it felt like. The whole movie felt like a dream or like a nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it has that nightmarish kind of music to it, the soundtrack to it.
Yeah.
Nathan, do you know anything about the band Goblin at all? Anything? Jill, do you?
Not really. I know they were a progressive rock band, and I believe they were Italian in the 70s. And that's about all I know. I also know that Dario Argento wanted the actors to feel like what the movie was going to feel like. So they're filming it silently, but Dario Argento had the soundtrack, which had already been written, blaring at the actors the entire time they were acting. It's like he had a stereo on as loud as it could go, I guess, from what I understand.
That is so funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So this movie was really filmed in a completely chaotic way.
Yeah.
Which also probably adds to the movie, and how it came out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently, the chick who played Susie said it was extremely challenging to make a movie that way, because she's an American actress and speaking English for real in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all completely foreign to her. So
I wonder if Stanley Kubrick also took some of that element too into his movies, because I've heard for years he is very I know he passed, was very difficult as a director and challenged his actors and actresses to the point of nervous breakdown.
I'm just gonna put out there that I love Kubrick's work, but I think he's a complete and utter asshole.
His work, though, also really reminds me of Argento's.
Yeah.
So,
that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
It's got I don't know.
The Shining has
same
that
kind of
dream-like quality too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking this movie is a lot like my favorite Kubrick movie, Eyes Wide Shut.
I've never seen that one.
That would be your favorite.
I'm a huge Tom Cruise fan.
That's what it is.
Oh, God. Yeah, that's not what I thought, but okay.
But the way Eyes Wide Shut is shot is like a dream sequence, like a whole dream sequence. And there's things that happen throughout that movie that almost not only do the characters question, is this a dream? But you as watching as the audience question as a dream. And the same thing I feel like happened in Suspiria, where Susie herself is almost questioning, is this a dream? And like Jill said too, she's on that red wine kind of trip going on too. So
well, they're definitely drugging her with that red wine.
Yeah.
She forgets things that are told to her and stuff like that while she's on it. So her grasp of reality is slipping from her for a lot of the movie.
But then all of a sudden she decides to throw away the wine, right? And I gotta be mentally okay for what's going on.
Right.
Now, with the witchcraft angle in this movie, right, we get the exposition dump of what's really going on in the witchcraft and things like that. But what was your reaction to the way Susie kind of handled it? Because in a lot of movies, right, when they're told something supernatural or something out of this world is happening, the character is always stupid, where they're like, oh my God, this can't happen. You're full of shit, blah, 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 blah. But Susie in this instance was
reaction, but go on.
I know it would have been you. Nathan, you're always my North Star. If something weird is happening, I have to question with you and you'll tell me the answer,
There you go. Usually the answer is it's nothing supernatural, but go on.
But that's what I mean. Like, I think, in my opinion, the way they set up this movie with all these weird things happening to Susie, it was like, this is what kind of made her acceptance of, like, this is witchcraft. Because why else would she just be like, oh, okay, like, I don't know. Her reaction was very,
I think Sarah like finally got through to her and she was concerned about her, but also I think it's really interesting that the only men in this movie besides Daniel are like the two psychiatrists or whatever. And the first psychiatrist guy is like, yeah, you're crazy. Magic isn't real. Witches aren't real. Go talk to my colleague. He knows everything about it. And then she talks to him and he's like, oh yeah, magic's real everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm convinced that the current spread of belief in magic and the occult is part of mental illness. Professor Milius can answer your question better than I can.
Magic is everywhere and all over the world. It's a recognized fact.
What I wrote down for that is, I think belief in the occult is mental illness. Here's a guy who believes the exact opposite of that. You should listen to him. And then he refuses to elaborate and leaves the movie.
Yeah.
But go on with what you were saying. I'm sorry.
No, I love it. I think it's funny, like witchcraft is historically linked with, thinking that women are delusional or paranoid and not believing them and then just burning them. But the witches in this movie have all the power.
Right.
And even though they're corrupt, it's funny that Susie goes to this guy and he tries to tell her, it's not real, you're crazy, but it actually is real. And then she talks to the expert and he's like, yeah, it's real.
Right.
So I think it's a really interesting, an inversion of what you would expect or typically see in a movie.
I have a question. And my biggest question of this movie, and maybe I just didn't understand it or it went over my head, but what is the reasoning behind the witches' coven at the boarding school, or at the ballet school, I should say?
It's a cover for their occult thing going on.
Okay.
The dance school is. And there's a whole lore behind this, and you'll see it actually more in the new Suspiria movie. They're really heavy on Argento's inspiration for the story, which is a story about three mothers of sorrow. So you have the mother of sighs, which is Mother Suspirium, the mother of tears, and the mother of darkness. And they're all split up around the world. So one is in Rome, one is in Berlin, and one is in New York.
Okay.
And they're these ancient witches. So yeah, that is the whole point of the dance school, is that they're using it as a front for their coven.
Yeah. So the old psychologist guy says that what they're after is money, but the only way they can make money is by hurting people. So what I wrote down for that is step 1, build a dance school. Step 2, kill the students. Step 3, question mark, question mark, question mark. Step 4, profit.
Yeah, repeat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I love it.
Another question, right? So the head of the coven, who's also quote unquote the head of the dance school, is
Helena
what
Marcos.
was her name?
Helena Marcos.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so she would technically be 100 years old or something like that.
Yeah.
Old as fuck.
Yeah, really old.
And so was she a spirit, or was she alive that could just make herself
She's
disappear?
alive, but they require sacrifices. So that's what they were doing with the girls.
Oh, okay.
I think, is to sacrifice them. I'm not really sure why, to make them young again. It's not really explored in this movie. They don't tell
not
you.
even a little bit.
That makes sense.
Exactly, yeah.
Because I was thinking, especially in the scene Nathan had talked about, where they all sleep together and there's that red backlit area behind the sheets, and she's sleeping back there, right?
You hear that snoring? It's weird. Hear it? The directress is here. her. The one who's snoring. She's the directress.
I was wondering if she was sleeping back there to be close to the youth and like suck in the
like
youth.
drain them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think her room was probably infested with maggots. That's probably why she was sleeping down there. I'll be honest.
Damn, I was looking too deep into it.
No, I think they had an eye on the two American girls for a reason.
Yeah.
Like Sarah was going to die and they were interested in Susie, but then Susie started getting too involved, I guess.
Yeah.
So they decided to kill her. But the ultimate goal was to be a sacrifice to the mother of Sighs, Marcos, so that she could be younger again, or she was going to die or something like that. I can't remember.
See, I didn't get all of that. I just sort of went, I don't know. It's a movie. It's surreal.
Witchcraft.
I like it.
Right.
Witchcraft.
But yeah.
But also, she's a mother of Sighs and she has that wheezing
Yes.
that you hear. It's very much more prominent in the newer version, but yeah, it's here too.
See, I was thinking like we would hear her wheezing, right? And then like the girls would be sacrificed. And then throughout the movie, when we would get her next, her breathing would get better because she's like sucking
Yeah.
in the youth and like, you know.
Elizabeth Bathory type vibes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not
I
sure who
liked the,
Elizabeth Bathory is.
You
no,
don't?
I don't know who that is.
Oh, the Blood Countess. Have you ever heard of her? She used to like drink girls' blood so she would appear younger.
Oh, okay.
She was like an Austrian lady.
Okay.
Yeah.
They have a scene like it in Hostel 2, I believe.
Oh,
Okay.
I didn't watch
Where-
Hostel 2 because I didn't like Hostel
Yeah.
1.
Yeah.
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 Elizabeth Bathory. Look it up.
I liked this scene too where Sarah came in and it was like Living Dead, like zombie stuff. I thought that was pretty cool, like having that. I almost wish we saw a little bit more of that too. Not a full zombie movie, don't get me wrong, but
It was scary because Sarah was her friend. It feels
Yeah.
like it was very unnerving, the way she was made up and everything. And that's also where the movie just ends out of nowhere. But you know, I liked that too. So
my question on the ending, she kills
Helena
Marcos.
Marcos, yeah.
And so, like, the German doctor had said earlier in the movie that if you kill the head or cut off the head of the snake dies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So everything starts going chaotic in the boarding school or the dance school, and it starts setting on fire.
Yep.
And Susie walks away from the building, right?
Yeah.
So we're to assume that everybody in that building burns to death, including the kids that are, or the girls that are.
They weren't
innocent?
there.
Where were they?
They went off to some show.
Yeah. Remember they all had tickets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Excuse me, where is everybody?
They have all gone to the theater for the opening of the Bolshoi.
Then why didn't anyone tell me about it?
I don't know. Miss Tanner obtained tickets for everybody.
But Susie was left behind, presumably because the witches were planning on killing her.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, that kill I think is really cool. The way it happens with like that glass peacock.
Yeah.
And I know Argento uses that later on for something in a different movie.
Yeah.
But I thought it was really great that she knocked it over and woke up Marcos.
Yeah.
And then also it being a peacock, so like a sign of pride. And I feel like the witches were getting kind of cocky.
Yeah. That
And
makes sense.
a little proud, and then it became their demise because she stabs her with like the glass plume of a feather.
Right.
And breaks down the whole coven. So I thought that was, I don't know if that was intended, but I think it's a really cool idea.
I like
Yeah.
that. Pride. Pride did them in. That's a cool theme. I like that a lot. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
I thought of specifically with the peacock, kind of a callback to Black Christmas 1974 with the glass unicorn and like something in the room really, you know, pretty, ornate, beautiful. and then this horrible
Used as a weapon.
death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that too.
There was a lot of colored lights used in this movie. Mainly green, red, and blue. RGB. But
Not
I
the
didn't.
KGB.
No,
Oh
the
my
RGB.
God.
So I picked up that yellow seems to be the color of the witches, because there's only 2 places in the movie where yellow is used prominently, and that's in the yellow room at the beginning of the movie, where Susie has the spell put on her that makes her bleed from her face and makes her very weak. And then as Susie is approaching the room where all the witches are hanging out in the interior of the school, those are the 2 places I noticed yellow. But that made me think, have I been missing meaning behind the other colors that are used in the lighting? Because I feel like I missed a lot in this movie. And I don't know. I want to know if either of you noticed anything about what the meanings behind those colors are, because I missed it.
Yeah, I was actually wondering about yellow because I only noticed it in those 2 scenes too, but I didn't realize like the reason for it.
I don't even know if my reason's correct. I was just
I think you're onto something.
Yeah.
So for the other 2 colors, again with the Snow White, red is very prominent. Red is mostly what I noticed, and I think red represents evil.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Whatever.
Too. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and we see it whenever something bad's happening regarding the witches, and I think blue represents like innocence or good because Susie's wearing it a lot.
Right.
It's the interior of some of the rooms. I don't know why it's different. But
Sarah also is bathed in blue while she's struggling in the razor wire.
Yeah.
And then green is used a lot less than the other 3 colors as well, but it's in there. It to the point where it grabs your attention anytime you see it. Even if it's just
I was just
like on a random piece of the wall.
I was just wondering, like, that stained glass that Pat was killed through.
That was yellow
and I'm
too.
trying to
Now that I'm thinking about it,
it like had all the colors in it. No.
Yeah. It had all 4 I felt like there was 4 prominent colors, with green and yellow being used less than red and blue. But yeah, all 4. I think you might be right that all 4 colors were in that stained glass skylight that Pat was put through and hung.
Also, the geometry and like the shapes. There's a lot of squares and a lot of triangles. So I was trying to think if there's like meaning behind it. So I was thinking like triangles and squares intertwined is kind of like a pentagram,
That's
which
true.
is a symbol for witchcraft a lot of the times. And I also thought that the edges, like the 3 edges of a triangle, could maybe signify like the 3 mothers of sorrow.
Right.
So like darkness, tears, and sighs.
Gonna have to watch.
So I don't know if that was a thing, but
I feel like I have
noticed it
to
in the
watch
new
the
one
other
as well.
2 movies in the 3 Mothers trilogy to
Me too.
like, figure any of. I also feel like I
Yeah.
need to watch this movie 10 more times, because
Let's
I
do
feel
it.
like there was so much symbolism and stuff in there that I was so mesmerized by the surrealism that I feel like I need to do a deep dive into what is being communicated by, or maybe nothing's being communicated by any of this and we're all being pretentious assholes. I don't know.
But it's still pretty.
Yes.
So, I like it.
Yeah.
Like you were
fun.
like you were saying, this is considered one of the 3 movies, right, of the trilogy.
Yeah.
There's 1980 Inferno and 2007 Mother of Tears. Have you
Right.
guys seen either one of those?
No, I haven't seen anything else by Argento. So
Now we'll have to check
Soon
those
you
out.
will.
oh
I know you're hooked.
yeah, I have a feeling over the winter I'll probably end up doing an Argento marathon at some point.
I felt like, I did say there were some pacing issues for me throughout. But in fairness, when I felt like it was lagging a little bit, it was like all of a sudden, boom, snapped out of it. The biggest one that actually reminded me of a movie me and Nathan did solo, I think it was our episode 2, When Evil Lurks.
Oh, yeah.
And the fucking dog going after Daniel.
Right, yeah.
Like, that was like, whew. And I believe what you're saying was true too, where they took away the music before that.
That's something I know. I did watch this movie twice because I watched it last week and watched it again last night to be fresh. And I noticed it the second time through. On all 3 kills, right before the bad thing happens, the music cuts out and the movie becomes almost silent for a good 4 to 5 seconds, enough to catch your attention. And then when it happens, it's almost like a jump scare, but it's not a jump scare. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I
like
was
the
going to say
eyes
that.
show up right after, with
I was going to say that because it's like the reverse of a horror movie trope where they hit you with that sting, that music sting when a jump scare happens. It's the opposite. They take away that music before it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just this crazy, chaotic music's happening, and then it just goes away. And that's when the bad thing happens. It's
a good point.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
It was cool. It was a great scene. And actually, I saw, too, that piece of scenery that they were at was like a Nazi area where they used to do speeches and burn books and things like that.
Yeah.
So there is like an evil looming presence over that as well.
There is an element of fascism with the witches in the movie that I couldn't put my finger on what they were trying to do exactly with it, except that I know that it was only 30 years after Nazi Germany and was filmed in Germany.
It's like evil.
They're both evil.
Evil never dies, Nathan.
Yeah, there you go. Miss Tanner there, the very strict teacher, she felt like she might be a Nazi. The way she dressed and the way she acted was very Hitlerite-esque.
Yeah. Right. I thought she was a closet lesbian or something like that, just the way she was.
Could be all of these things.
Dario Argento did say something. I just have been reading a few things here and there. He did say that this is kind of a lesbian story. And I didn't pick up on why that was true throughout watching it, but it's something he said. I don't know.
I don't know.
Like, I don't know. I didn't really sense any, sexual tension between Sarah and Susie, but maybe that's what he's talking about. I don't know.
This movie was missing some nudity.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, honestly, if you're going to base a movie at a dance academy that's almost all women, eventually, if it's a horror movie, you kind of want to see at least one of them naked. But
yeah, you're right.
We did get very prominent pool nipples, though. Yeah, when they put on those bathing suits, those nipples were poking out real far.
Knowing our luck, we would have saw what's his face naked.
Pavlos?
Romanov. What's his name?
Pavlos?
Yeah, Pavlos.
Oh God.
This is Pavlos. He's very ugly.
He's really ugly, isn't he? Don't be afraid to say so. Can't understand you anyway. He speaks only Romanian.
Yeah.
What?
But he's hung like a horse.
No one's interested.
Yeah.
You know what? I want to know, was that little kid was in on the witch's coven.
Definitely.
He was evil as fuck.
He's my nephew. I'm very attached to him.
I hated that little kid. He never said a damn word. I hated him.
I must go punch that baby.
When Miss Tanner came in and it was like, your dog bit that little boy. I was like, good. Good. I hope he doesn't survive.
Damn. Fuck them
creeped
kids.
me out. Has there ever been a kid dressed that way that hasn't creeped you out? With that haircut.
He was like Damien, and he looked like a bunch of the sketchy kids. You know?
Yeah, like he belongs with the Children of the Corn.
I was gonna say
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
He's just some poor little German boy, and we're all. Well, he is creepy. So
Yeah.
he deserves it.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, he was in with the witches. Come on, like
I guess you're right.
There's no way he
I guess
wasn't.
you're right.
He's like a familiar,
Yeah.
creepy little German kid.
There you go.
Oh my god.
Pet.
Don't air that.
This is a movie I could see A24 remaking. I know there was the remake, but this seems down A24's alley, no?
Yeah, they just did The Witch, so. Well, not just did. That was like almost 10 years ago, but.
Was The Witch almost 10 years? That was 2016,
I think it was 2015.
wasn't it?
Yeah, we're old.
A24 movies definitely often feel like this movie feels.
I love The Witch, and this definitely reminded me.
A lot, yeah.
I mean, well, I guess The Witch reminded me of this, but
yeah.
yeah.
I know that they did the remake, but I want to ask Jill first. Now that you've seen both of them, is there one that you prefer better?
So I watched the second one, or the, not the remake, but the new one, like over a year ago, I said. And I loved it. I gave it 5 stars on Letterboxd. And then I watched the 1977 version of Suspiria the other day, and I was so in love with it. I gave that 5 stars as well.
Just
And
spoiled the
now I
rating.
need to go back. No. Okay, I won't talk about rating anymore. But then I rewatched the new Suspiria again today, and I was so upset because I had just watched the original, even though I loved the new one. It does not have the same sentiment. And I know Dario Argento hates the new one.
Does he really?
Because he said it was a betrayal of like the spirit of the original, which I totally get. And like, I know this sounds really pretentious and stupid and whatever, but the colors are not there.
The colors are like
The music is not the same. Yeah. I know it's Tom York in the new one. I love Tom York, but it doesn't have the same effect. And I don't know, no one could ever recreate this. It's just a masterpiece to me.
So it kind of lessened your love or view on the new one, no?
Yeah, a little. Like, I still love it for what it is. You have to really not compare them at all. You have to take them as separate entities.
Do you think given time separation, you might just
Maybe,
come
yeah.
back around to to 5 stars on the new one?
I might sound a little harsh. I would probably just give 4.5 to the new one now. So it's not that
Right.
bad.
Okay.
It's like
So-
a hair difference.
Yeah.
Maybe I do need some time to separate them.
I have not seen the new one, but like, to me, the problem with it is it's
The problem
it's
with the
hard
movie
to,
you've never seen?
Well, no, it's hard to recreate this sort of atmosphere and mood that this Suspiria gives you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean, I'm always shitting on newer things, and I shouldn't do it, but like, I don't know. I won't do it.
It's impossible to recreate that.
Susie said she was going to count 20 steps and then only stepped 19 times. Huge problem.
How dare they?
Right?
She's kind of a moron to me because,
Oh my God.
well, if you go out
Hold
that
on,
hallway,
are we back to talking? Are we back to the
Yeah,
episode?
put that in there.
I'm going to put that in there.
if
She's kind of a moron.
well, if she goes out that hallway, right, and you look down the hall, and there's this fucking, she can see the red kind of light, right, coming off of that door. That's the evil door. That's where you go.
When we talked about, I'm not sure what parts of the music and sound effects are in universe and what aren't. I'm also not sure what part of the visuals and the lighting are in universe and aren't. Because you would think that if the lighting all of a sudden went red or all of a sudden went blue or there's a green spot on a clock, the characters would notice it and they don't. So I get what you're saying. That was sort of, the lighting was almost more of an aside to your point. but it reminded me of something I did want to bring up, is that I think the entire movie, there's a really big question as to how much of what you see on screen is actually happening in the story itself. I mean, I think the events are all there, but the visuals themselves, I wonder how much of it actually happened on screen.
I like
you know
that.
what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I know what you're saying.
That makes so much sense, because I'm looking at that fucking red light on that door, and I'm like, this is like Beetlejuice sign.
Don't go here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but the character's gotta go in.
You're so proud. So proud of your little sign.
Hey, it's a big sign. At least I think it is.
Yeah. But yeah, no, the character's got to go in there, though. Wouldn't you go in there? Wouldn't you be super curious?
I get the fuck out of there, honestly.
Yeah, you're probably right. You wouldn't want to meet Helena
And
Marcos.
I also would not be stacking crates like Jenga blocks, trying to climb out a window and jump into razor wire. But that's just me.
She didn't look down?
She was trapped in there, though.
She didn't even, she just jumped in that shit.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
it was
she's
like,
not good at climbing.
It was like out of Home Alone. I think it was the second one.
It really was.
Yeah, that was a thought that came to my mind, was who just stores razor wire like that?
Oh, you don't have a room of razor wire?
It didn't really look like razor wire.
Well, that's because it wasn't razor wire. I mean, apparently she did get pinched by the wire a whole bunch, and it wasn't fun for her.
Yeah, it's not like the needle pit of Saw.
Yeah, that was Saw 2, wasn't it?
Saw 2, yeah.
That was the last Saw movie I saw.
Last good one, but anyway.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I saw the first
Saw
one
3.
and I was like, that was good. And then the second one was like, that was the same movie. And then I stopped. I did this. It tends to be what I do with a lot of franchises.
Amanda's haircut is not the same movie at all. But anyway.
Amanda's haircut?
Does it rival Courtney Cox's
She has
haircut?
that. It does. Actually, look this up, because I watched these movies close together. And both their haircuts and like bangs were atrocious.
Ooh.
So I'm gonna start a list on Letterboxd of bad haircuts, and those are the top 2 movies.
So go look for Jill's cunt horror list and Jill's horrible bang list.
Yes. I also kind of wanted to talk about the scary parts of the movie for us. Well, I'll talk about what I thought was scary first, and I'll ask you guys. But I think one of the things this movie does really well is playing on primal fears that kind of everyone has. The one that I found particularly upsetting was the maggots in the hair.
Oh.
And I know, Nathan, you got long hair too. Does it freak you out?
Yeah, no good. No good.
No good. The way it's done is so well too. Like you just see like a couple in the back of her hair, and then she starts flicking them,
and you're confused.
And then
you
she
don't
looks
see
up,
what it is at first.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was like a dream thing too. You know, like it goes into that whole: is this a dream or reality?
Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah.
Why was food stored in the attic?
I don't think that was food.
What was it?
Organs? I
It
don't
looked
know.
like meat to me. I don't know. Well, I guess human meat can look like meat too, can't it?
But that's one of the things I like about this movie too, is that it doesn't describe everything to you, and actually you kind of have to figure it out yourself.
Yeah.
So it preys more on your imagination, like just what I was saying. Like I find maggots and things in my hair really scary.
Yeah.
I was outside today and a bug like flew into my hair and I started freaking out. I just watched this movie. So I was like,
there's gotta be more
itchy and like
yeah.
For like an hour later, I was like going through my hair looking for a bug.
Yeah.
Then I found a bug on my couch later, a dead one, and I'm suspicious. I'm freaked out. But anyway, bugs in your hair. Being watched when you're sleeping really scares me. And just like the paranoia that you feel. But what did you guys find as unsettling or scary?
We were talking about the Pat's kill, the very first kill of the movie, and we didn't talk about really what led up to it, where she's standing in front of the window, and again, the music just drops out at this moment. The music's been going crazy right up until then, and then all of a sudden eyes just open up real close to the window. I don't know. It's like almost like a cheesy effect, like a super cheesy, outdated effect, but it did it for me. It was, it very much startled me, and there was something very unnerving about it. The idea of looking out and then like if you look outside your window and then all of a sudden there was just something right there, and it means you harm. And then that hairy arm comes in and grabs her by the head.
Yeah.
So, I thought that was a pretty terrifying thought. Yeah.
Whose arms were those? Just supernatural arms?
That's Marcos.
I think that's Helena Marcos. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
If it actually is.
Well, Helena Marcos has hairy arms.
Jeez.
That's the connection I
Why would you want to still live?
Wait,
My question is, how did she end up on the roof?
She's a witch.
She's a witch, motherfucker.
No, not her. The Pat.
Oh, she was pulled out by the hairy armed person.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Who's a witch?
I don't think they showed that. I think the window was above the roof.
Yeah.
Like there was a tower sort of deal there. Like penthouse
it's like very
apartment.
confusing.
Gotcha.
It's like intended to lose you in the architecture of the building, which I love.
All of a sudden we were like a jump scene to like on the roof, and I was like,
yeah, I honestly don't think this is the kind of movie where you ask those kinds of questions, to be honest with you, because like a lot of the logic, like we've been talking about, is just dream logic,
Yeah.
If you approach,
I gotta ask the questions.
I get you, but if you approach a David Lynch movie with those kind of questions, you're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah.
Because there are no answers most of the time.
Enjoy the decadence and shut up, basically.
Exactly.
What I enjoy is hearing everybody else's thoughts on what the answers are or could be.
Right.
Because I like that, because it does leave things open to interpretation, and and maybe something I didn't see, which happens quite often.
We can't all see every moment, every inch of the screen. So I didn't see the shadows of the witches circling around Daniel.
I didn't see that either.
When Jill was talking about that, I was like, oh wow.
Oh really?
Yeah, I didn't see that either. I saw shit happening.
Yeah.
And shadows.
But I couldn't make out what the shadows were.
Yeah, me neither.
Exactly.
You got to go back and watch it and see if you can see it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely have to take a look at that.
I'll definitely be able to see it in editing because it's all gone one frame by frame.
There you go.
For me, some of the scariest things in this were like shots, right? Like the shot of her head sticking through the stained glass. Her face image when she's being hung.
Yeah.
Also, speaking of hairiness, there were hairy hands indoors. And even when our girl there was trying to climb up on all the boxes and stuff and trying to open that lock from the outside, that shit's kind of scary too.
The way she's just staring at the knife coming up and realizing,
and they were so incompetent at it.
Yeah.
You just do one swift
Yeah, it was still terrifying though.
It was. It made it worse.
Out.
I was like,
right.
I was like, fucking move, lady. Come on. Build those boxes.
I think the biggest terrifying thing is being in a weakened state like Susie was. Passing out and then being waterboarded, for God's sakes.
No, you must drink. The blood lost to hemorrhaging is gained back instantly with the intake of liquids.
We didn't talk about
Oh
that.
my
Holy
God.
shit. Drink this.
There was something
I
so
can't.
uncomfortable about that. It just, I don't know. There was something really uncomfortable about that scene. The whole thing with the doctor.
The needle.
And the needle.
And the
yeah.
Yeah, like no consent whatsoever.
No,
Right.
no
It was kind of
thought.
weird.
Yeah, that whole
And
thing
then nothing
is,
he
like,
was saying was
terrifying for
making
me.
sense.
Yeah.
Like,
Drink this wine.
yeah, drink this wine. It'll help.
Eat this weird ass chicken breast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, like, have basically no food, right? And a whole ton of wine.
right.
And see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like being 13 and breaking into the liquor cabinet, for God's sakes, you know? Like, this is the effect that it has.
Yeah.
But I think just that overall state of being that she was, you know, weakened, drunk, not knowing what's going on, sedated, drugged, and then all this horrible shit happening right where you live
Right.
is terrifying. Because, like, you can't do anything because you're all fucked up and falling asleep, you know?
Yeah, I hear you. That is scary. Also, Olga's dancer walk in the background. Fucking terrifying.
Did you like Olga?
No. No,
She
I
was
actually.
my favorite.
Oh, was she?
I kind of liked
Really?
her.
Yeah.
She was a
Oh,
cunt.
I
but-
didn't like her
I know.
much. Although I found it kind of funny that like she was set up to be like the pain in the ass character in the movie.
Susie. Sarah. I once read that names which begin with the letter S are the names of snakes.
And then she
We
just
never see her again.
disappears.
Yeah.
I was like, there's going to be a rivalry between Susie and Olga. And then we never see her again.
I thought they were going to set up a whole bunch of bad shit happening to Sarah, right? And it being blamed on Olga, but it wasn't Olga. It was the witches and stuff. I thought that's
Right.
where we were heading. Fuck Olga.
Olga's much more prominent in the new one. She's actually the one being contorted in that dance scene we saw. Yeah.
And is she actually a rival for Susie? The way I thought she was going to be? No?
No.
Okay.
She's a different role.
Okay.
Well, is there anything else you wanted to bring up on Suspiria?
It sucks that when she got into the cab and asked, how long has it been raining like this? He says, oh, only about a half an hour. Showed up just in time to be a pain in the ass for Susie.
Yeah.
Just in time.
Or maybe she brought it.
Right.
Ooh.
Yeah, could be a witch.
You think she could be a witch? Because I didn't really get that.
I'm not going to say anything about the new one again. But the three mothers, so like we said, one is in New York. I remember how when she gets there, her aunt knows Madame Blanc, I think.
Yeah.
Right? And she says, I know your aunt from New York.
I knew a woman called Banyan years ago in New York. Carol Banyan.
She's my aunt.
Oh, good.
So I thought that was supposed to be like maybe
Connection.
Susie is part of the New York like coven or something. And she doesn't know it.
That, I see
Like
where you're
in her
going with
family.
that.
Yeah.
And,
But it has nothing to do with the new one, though. That there's something completely different going on there.
I was thinking, like, is there a reason why Susie was chosen, besides being a dancer and, you know, this school being a prominent school for dance?
That's never really explored. You get the feeling that there is a reason, but it's never really explained at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, another thing that adds to the dream logic in the scene where Miss Tanner is coming after Daniel to say, your dog bit this child. He's playing piano. But there's also like a whole orchestra behind him that just isn't there. And when he stops playing piano, the orchestra stops too. So it's like the piano's also playing an entire orchestra. It was unnerving in a way. I don't know.
I love that.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah. In a lesser movie, I would say that was a stupid flaw. But in this movie, it felt really good. It more dream logic stuff, you know?
Yeah.
She was a bitch to him, too, for throwing his cane and shit.
Especially since that kid deserved it.
Oh, God.
Frank Mendel does not care about HIPAA at all.
Oh, yeah.
He just comes out and says, oh, yeah.
I know her quite well. She was a patient of mine. She had a nervous breakdown after her mother's death.
Sarah was one of my my patients. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't think you're allowed to tell her that.
I guess it doesn't matter in 1970s Germany.
Yeah, apparently.
I was questioning. I'm like, who is this guy? Like, we're just thrown in there.
On my second watch through, I noticed that Sarah mentioned him during the pool scene. And they set up that Susie might contact him, and that's it.
Right.
He says some stuff and then leaves the movie.
Kevin didn't notice because he was looking at the nipples during
They
that
were very
scene.
prominent.
So.
His nipples?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Frank Mendel's nipples.
You know what? I was just thinking about when you're talking about her seeing Frank and stuff. No, nobody's really forcing these girls to be there, right?
Susie,
No.
other than Susie, I would agree with you. Because Susie...
But she's in a foreign country,
Yeah.
too. So it's not so easy to leave. And she's being drugged.
Yeah. But the other girls, I would agree with that nobody's forcing them to be there. But I don't think any of the other girls really suspect much of anything's wrong. So, other than Sarah.
Weird. I wonder if they're all being drugged. Am I just going off here?
I mean, I could see it. I mean, they're all being fed by the school, right?
And you did have that scene of that lady in the kitchen there with the cleaver. She was pissed when she thought Susie was overhearing them.
Oh, yeah. Students out of bed.
During that scene, I thought I thought the meat that they were chopping up was going to end up being Sarah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It didn't end up that way.
Thank God.
Oh.
I don't know. I thought that this movie was doing some crazy shit. I thought that they would actually go that direction. I had no doubt that I wouldn't have been surprised if they were to go in that extreme a direction.
No.
During the credits, the very beginning of the credits, it says, "You have been watching Suspiria." And I was like, oh shit, I had no idea.
I kind of liked that touch.
Yeah.
I like that touch. It was a little bit different.
Yeah. Instead of just the title scrolling by, it's like, you've been watching this. I hope you know.
I think we're on to quote or kill. My quote is from our boy Frank.
Bad luck isn't brought by broken mirrors, but by broken minds.
Thought that was a cool line. Do you know, too, I was looking at his face. I'm like, holy shit, I've seen this guy before.
Oh, my God.
Really?
Yes.
His name is Udo Kier, and he's a pretty famous character actor. Like, he's been in a ton of stuff.
What's he been in?
Stuff. Well, so I know him from, like, the Rob Zombie Halloween.
Oh, really?
But he's, like, he always plays an evil-looking guy, because he has these, like, glass eyes, like, if you look at him. And that's where I was like, wait a minute, I know this guy.
That is really funny.
Did you notice that, Jill? Do you know him?
Yeah, I knew that too. And I thought it was really funny because I didn't know when I was watching it. When I looked it up after, I was like, holy shit.
He's been in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, but he looks young. You know, I've only seen him as an old guy, so.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Or as a mature guy. My kill is the opening kill where Pat Hingle goes through the...
is that 3 for 3 on the opening kill?
Glass.
Yeah.
3 for 3. That's all of our kills.
Yeah, all of our faves.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's a legendary kill. I actually put it up there with some of the most classic ones in horror because it just has everything that you want, you know, terror, music. I mean, the fucking gore. Just her friend, too, with the, which we didn't talk about, got killed as well because of all the glass falling down, and she ends up with that big shard of glass going through her face.
Right. No, I totally agree with you about everything you just said. Especially since we're talking about 1977. This is before like the renaissance of the creative slasher kill. You know, slashers back then were still really basic. I mean, Halloween was 78, and some of those kills were even really basic, you know, as opposed to
they all were pretty much.
Yeah. as opposed to how creative things got in the 80s when they had to up the ante, or else it's just another remake of Halloween over and over again. And this movie came out before Halloween, and it's doing this crazy something you'd expect to see from a slasher movie from the 80s or 90s.
I almost think like Tom Savini, who's a pretty popular effects artist from the 80s, worked on Friday the 13th, the Dawn of the Dead stuff, The Burning, movies like that. I feel like he was kind of inspired by some of this too.
Yeah,
because
I could believe that.
A lot of gore effects too were like taking wide shots. This was right close-ups of the gore scenes. So it really did, I think, inspire some of those more graphic, gore of the 80s and stuff.
Just to follow up on the kill there, it's one of my favorites because it goes above and beyond. It has everything in it. It has stabbing. It has like a chase scene. You've got her head smashing through the stained glass. And one of my favorite parts is before she like goes through the glass, it's her face like slumping down into that glass. And like you get that shot of her face, which is really good. And then when she goes through the glass, then you've got a noose, which is crazy. And it really reminds me of the Haunted Mansion ride at Disney, where that person comes down on a noose, like the skeleton, when you're in the elevator.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that, which I think is terrifying. And then all the blood dripping down her legs, all over her white dress, and just like swinging there. It's just so gorgeous.
And it's that crazy.
And then like the architecture. What else do you want?
Yeah. And it's that crazy bright red blood that doesn't look realistic at all.
So surreal.
It's like red house paint, like the color of a barn.
Yeah. It reminds me of Carrie a little bit too. Like the way the blood is dripping down her body and all over her dress. Yeah. So I really love that
it's
too.
It's like a terrifying art piece. Like you could hang that in the Louvre and people would just be like, "Oh man, they did some crazy art back then, huh?"
They did.
You know what?
They sure did.
Bringing this back to another movie we reviewed in Serial Mom. Do you remember when the teenagers who are obsessed with horror movies see that lady get killed with a rack of lamb, and the girl goes, "Oh, this doesn't look like the movie." She's freaking out because of the blood. That's what I was thinking about. Right. But like in these situations, that really fake red blood, it just looks so fucking good. Like
yeah.
It doesn't look, I know it's phony, but it just, it pops.
It really does. So my quote is when she's almost same as you, Kevin, when she's talking to the psychiatrist guy and they ask,
what does it mean to be a witch?
What does it mean to be a witch? And I just love that. I think it's very like whimsical, and there's so many different ways you can answer that question. Right. Even in terms of this movie, like you could be good or you could be evil. It depends on how you control power, basically. Nathan, what's your quote?
My quote is actually at the end of the movie. Helena Marcos says,
"Hell is behind that door. You're going to meet death now. The living dead."
Then there's also a dog barking in there that doesn't make any sense at all because there's no dog behind that door. But it reminds you of the second kill, and it fills you with dread. But it's also
hellhounds.
But the line itself is also very camp and silly.
But it goes hard.
Yeah. Everything about that scene. And again, it's the scene where the movie just ends. You feel like he ran out of pages and was like, and he stabs her and then the school blows up. You know what I'm saying? But it's still great because of that. Because, again, the dream logic of a dog barking that isn't there, and then the line being kind of silly, but also maybe exactly what a witch in that situation would say. And then Sarah pops out as a zombie, and that's terrifying too. So,
well,
Yeah.
I was thinking what you said about camp, and that whole scene is very campy, but it works, I think.
Yeah.
Because, just the tone was right for it.
Yeah.
But it reminded me a lot of like Reanimator in that like sense.
I can see that.
And plus you have that kind of lightning silhouette of her that looks campy too.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like a bad effect almost. Yeah.
Yeah. But then you have the reanimated Sarah come in.
Yeah.
So it was, and then you have the chaotic ending. It definitely reminded me of Reanimator in that sense.
Yeah.
Which was cool. That brings us to our final rating. We're going to rate this from 1 to 5 stars. 5 is
pool nipples.
Susie escaping. 1 is the little kid, because everyone hates that little kid.
Yeah. Yeah. I hated that little kid.
I'll be honest, like at first, I actually rated this one a little bit lower, but this one sat with me and I thought about it more, and it actually raised its rating. I'm going to give this one 4 stars. I think it's a good movie, and I think, it's a must watch for any horror fan, because I think a lot was influenced by this movie. The mood, the atmosphere, the music, the cinematography too, which we didn't talk about, where some shots were framed differently too, which was cool. It's very noticeable during the exposition scenes.
Yeah.
Because of the outside environment and things like that.
Right.
But, everything about this movie is made to affect you, the viewer. And I love that. I love the mood. I love the atmosphere. I recommend watching this movie lights out, nothing else going on, because I think this really will kind of overtake you a little bit, and you'll get into that.
And turn the volume up if you can.
Crank it. All right. How about you, Jill?
So I just kind of wanted to say one more thing before I rate it. I want to borrow something from Mike from my It's Lay's podcast. I listened to their review of Suspiria the other day, and he said something that really stuck with me. So basically the sentiment of what he said is that Suspiria is all about the alchemy of the film. So not just one single part or narrative, but all the ingredients coming together to create something magical. I love that, and I think it's so poetic. And in the spirit of magic and witches, Suspiria is truly an alchemized masterpiece. The music, the colors, the shadows, the set, the plot, the characters, everything kind of swirls and eddies together in a hypothetical cauldron to create the most powerful magic of them all, which I think is art. That's my long-winded way of saying that this is 5 stars for me. One of my new favorite films. It's just beautiful. What about you, Nathan?
How do I follow that up? I'm going to give this 4.5 stars. I have talked a lot about how I forgave a lot of its flaws, but I haven't completely forgiven them, so that takes away half a star. But that doesn't change the fact that this movie is an incredible piece of art, more than it is, a narrative film. And that's what I love about it. That's what I love about a lot of surrealist film. This is, as far as surrealism and all that goes, I think this is up there with any of the David Lynch stuff. 4.5 stars.
I think we had the exact same ratings.
I noticed that.
Train to Busan.
Exactly the
No
same.
way.
Yeah.
When you said 4 stars, I was like, oh shit, it's coming, isn't it? I know Jill's giving it 5. I know I know what my rating is. It's going to be the same as our last episode.
Funny. I just love everything.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's awesome.
Well,
hey, I'm the
I love
same
what I
way.
love.
I'm the same way, because I think it takes a lot for me to rate something, on this show that's below 3 stars, because I think when it's below 3 stars, it starts getting into like,
it's bad.
It's bad, but it's bad to the point of like, I don't want to watch this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of movies that are bad that I don't really like, but like I would watch them again, you know, whatever.
Yeah. I don't know. I also enjoy hating on things, but I'm not going to lie about that. I like getting annoying about movies I don't like, but we've just been reviewing a lot of, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We've just been reviewing a lot of really good movies lately though. So I haven't had a chance.
We got to have a bad one coming.
Eventually it'll happen. It's got to, right? So, maybe I'll purposely choose one I don't like. So for my pick at some point,
we're going to do a pick your poison for Nathan.
Oh boy.
Ooh.
Yeah. We'll put them all on a wheel.
Right.
Just pick some of Nathan's least favorites.
As long as Better Watch Out ain't on there, because I'm not watching that ever again.
That's one I don't want to watch either.
Yeah.
So that would be a one on my...
Yeah, that's on the refuse to do again list. Yeah.
Before we end our review, we want to do our content consumed segment, let you know what we've been up to. What have we been watching? What have we been reading, listening to, or gaming? For me, I went to the movies.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Wow.
And I saw the new Bike Riders movie with Tom Hardy.
What the hell is that?
I'm also wondering what that is.
What?
Bike Riders?
The Bike Riders, it's called, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Bicycles
with Tom
or
Hardy.
bikes?
Bikes,
Yeah,
motorcycles.
Okay.
Because it depends on how cool it is going to be.
I mean,
damn, you guys are hating already.
If they're on street bikes, like those with those tiny, skinny little tires, like the Tour de France,
no,
that is, you know,
like
the Bike Riders. Yeah, it goes hard.
It's got Tom Hardy. Tom fucking Hardy. You're putting him down. Ah.
I'm sorry. I don't know anything about this movie, so we shouldn't be.
The Scooter Riders.
It could be the best movie in the world. That is a terrible title.
I agree.
Well, it's based on a book, which I believe actually is called The Bike Riders. It was a photography book, also done in accompaniment with a interview from one of the biker gang's girlfriends or wife. So she kind of breaks down the story. It's supposed to be, it's loosely based on the Outlaws of Chicago.
Okay.
But in the movie, they're called the Vandals because you can't talk about real biker gangs.
Would have been a cooler name.
But
for the movie also.
The Vandals?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. It has Austin Butler. It's pretty good. I actually liked it a lot. It's an old school movie, and what I mean by that is it's not like big action and, you know, selling you on a motorcycle gang. It's actually like a story and how it's well written and kind of takes you throughout this club, but it takes you through the actual people. And like I said, it's told through one of the bikers' girlfriends or wife. She becomes his wife, and it's really good.
Spoiler.
Okay, that's a little spoiler, but come on, it's not a big spoiler. Tom Hardy is fucking amazing in this movie.
Okay. So
he
this
is one of
movie
my
is good.
favorite actors.
Yeah.
I think it is. I think the story is great, and I think the acting is great. I think, though, if you're going in expecting some kind of action movie, you're going to be disappointed.
Right.
Because it's not like that. And in fact,
It's more drama.
when I started watching it, I was a little bit like, oh, man, this is going to be a long movie for me. But they turned me around, and I really dug it. You know, I think it's worth seeing. Obviously, if you can't get to the movie theater, you know, see it streaming, but movie theaters are always the way to see a movie. You know, it's like, gotta be there. But yeah, I recommend it. Yeah. Anyways, that's mine. How about you, Jill?
I just want to point out that Maxine's coming out this week.
Yes,
so
it is.
Go watch that instead of the Bike Riders. But anyway.
Hey, Jill, fists or knives?
Fists or knives?
Yep.
Gotta go with knives, right?
In what context? I'm just kidding. Knives.
Oh, now I know what you're like.
I finished Howl's Moving Castle, which I think I brought up last time that I started reading. So I finished it. It was really good. It was really different from the movie, which is one of my favorites, but I really enjoyed the book. I gave it 5 stars. I'd read it again. It's really fun. But there was a quote that stuck out to me. I actually highlighted this before I even watched Suspiria, but it connected with Suspiria, so I just wanted to bring it up. It has to do with like people being in power with magic, like wizards and witches and whatever. So it seems as if those of high ability cannot resist some extra dangerous stroke of cleverness, which results in a fatal flaw and begins a slow decline to evil. And I thought that was super fitting. So yeah, Howl's Moving Castle is like pretty deep, bro. I finished Evocation. Did I talk about that with you guys? No. Okay. I read Evocation by S.T. Gibson, who
you might have talked about this, actually.
Okay, it's like an occult secret society possession book. I did talk about this, didn't I?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. Okay, so I won't talk about that.
You were talking about S.T. Gibson last time.
Okay, yeah, I talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
Also, I started reading Carmilla, which is that vampire story, like the original vampire story I told you guys about. I read a retelling of it. Well, now I'm reading the real thing. It's really beautiful. It inspired Dracula. So I'll tell you more about it when I finish it. Apart from that, for movies, I watched The Taking of Deborah Logan. We did an episode on It's Lace podcast about it. So if you want to hear about it, you can go check that out. We also watched Belladonna of Sadness. So if you want to hear about that, go on over and check it out. But I really loved it. It has to do with witches and feminism, and it's like a Japanese sort of fantasy horror thing. It's psychedelic. It's so good.
It's incredible if you watch the trailer.
You gotta watch
incredible
it.
Looking. So
Yeah,
I gotta.
I need you to watch it and talk to me. Okay, but yeah,
one of our
really good.
And then,
it should be, since we're on that witch tip.
Yeah.
And did I talk about A Nightmare on Elm Street last time? No. Okay. So I went to the drive-in near me and I watched A Nightmare on Elm Street. They had a whole thing for its 40th birthday. So they had Freddy Krueger there. He blew out candles on a cake. You can get your picture taken with him and all that kind of stuff. And there was thunder and lightning during the whole time the movie was playing. So it was such a fantastic atmosphere. I had a great time. If you can watch that movie in a drive-in, you gotta. It's
That's
so good.
Cool as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotta flex a little bit. But anyways.
So jealous.
Yeah. Nathan, what you been doing?
In the group text at some point, Jill sent us a video of some guys from Massachusetts on a reality show. I have no idea what this reality show is. And she's like, it reminds me, this is what I think Massachusetts is, or something like that. And I was like, but no, we have Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. And that inspired me to watch Good Will Hunting for the first time, actually. Believe it or not, I had not seen it. And that is an excellent film. And it's the only thing that I have watched between this episode and the last, just because of work, editing, and Red Sox. If you haven't seen that one, it's really good. It's a drama about a janitor who's really good at math and is discovered by a math teacher. You two have both seen it, right?
Yeah.
No.
No?
Oh, I've seen it.
No?
It's really surprising
you
that
gotta
I haven't
watch
seen
it.
Yeah.
Okay, I've never even heard of it.
What?
Wait. No, I understand not having seen it, but not having heard of it?
And you made fun of me for seeing a movie called The Bike Riders.
Yeah.
I stand by it.
Kevin Redemption.
I'm gonna look this up. And
it's got Robin Williams,
this is the movie.
Matt Damon, Ben Affleck.
This is the movie that skyrocketed them into Hollywood.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's probably before my time.
You know the expression, how do you like them apples?
Yes.
The very first instance of that being said was in this movie.
No way. 1997. I was a kid.
I don't know.
So are we.
I actually do not know if what I just said is true. It's in the movie though.
Only 3 people on my letterbox have seen this, apparently.
Yeah.
What?
So
This is
and
classic
you haven't,
cinema.
Kevin.
Well, I just haven't put it in mine.
You gotta
I don't
log
even
it.
have a
Okay,
Letterboxd.
it's well liked.
Gotta get one, Nathan.
Yeah.
Has Robin Williams.
Yeah.
He's the math teacher.
It's an extremely famous movie.
Huh.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, anyway,
Put it on your must watch.
it's not about math. It's about the character that Matt Damon plays.
Hate math.
Yeah. It's about the drama of a very troubled young man trying to make his way through the world and not living up to his potential, and people who are trying to make him live up to his potential. It's a good movie.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
a little bit cheesy here and there, but I kind of love the cheese in it.
Way to send us into conclusion with the bombshell of
Jill not having heard
Jill not
of
hearing about Good Will Hunting.
It was a
Is
sin
it
for
on a
me to
local
not
movie?
have seen it yet.
Okay. It says MIT. That's like a regional thing for you.
MIT
so like maybe
is
it
a
was
school.
It is the most Boston movie
Exactly.
ever made.
exactly.
That's for sure.
Ben
So,
Affleck,
Get off my back.
Matt Damon, they're the kings of Boston.
Yeah.
I'm foreign. 1.
Canada isn't that foreign.
I'm so foreign, damn it.
Once
To get a green card.
Jill, once you watch this movie, you will be a honorary Bostonite. Bostonian?
Bostonian. Yeah.
Really?
Bostonian. Yep.
Yeah.
Do I get a special card at Dunkin' Donuts?
Yeah.
Shit, yeah. You'll be a dunk
Yeah.
queen.
Yeah. You need to stop using R's though.
Oh, my car keys.
Park the car.
Ah, my car keys.
Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. This has been our review on Suspiria from 1977. We'll be back again soon with another episode, kid. But until then, back to the padded room with you.